تفضل شيخ.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. We begin with hadith number 3. Abu Abdul Rahman Abdullah ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhuma said, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Islam is built upon 5: to testify that there is no ilah worthy of worship except Allah, and that Muhammad is Allah's messenger, to establish the prayers, to give the zakat, the pilgrimage, and fast in Ramadan. Collected by Bukhari and Muslim. So Sheikh Salih Fawzan Hafidhullah says, this hadith is similar to the preceding hadith, the hadith of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, concerning the explanation of the pillars of Islam, except that this hadith contains an increment, and that is his saying, Islam is built upon 5 pillars. In the hadith of Umar it says,
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. So when we're translating, it is better to stay away from complicated words that are not common. This is an advice for everyone who is indulged in translation, works in translation and so on. Why is that? Because your audience are people who speak English either natively or they don't speak Arabic, so they understand English, but it is not their mother tongue, or their English is not, their vocab is not that much. And many people do not go to the dictionary and say, okay, I found this word, let me look, what does it mean? And then this word, and that is why always when you're translating, barakallahu fikum, use words that are understood, words that are commonplace. And if you don't, if you're not able to, there's a word that you cannot find an equivalent for it, but you cannot find a word that means the same thing. However, the only word you can find is something that is complicated, then okay, fine fine when that's the case. However, it is always better when you speak to speak according to what people understand. طيب. So we have a ziyada, we have an addition in the hadith, as the Sheikh Hafidhahullah said, which is بُنِيَ الْإِسْلَامُ عَلَى خَمْسٍ. Islam is built upon 5. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. In the hadith of Umar it said, O Muhammad, tell me about Islam. And he said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Islam is to testify that there is no ilah worthy of worship except Allah, to the end of the hadith. So apparently the hadith of Umar radiallahu anh shows that Islam only includes these 5 pillars, while this hadith proves that these 5 pillars are not all that Islam entails. Islam is only built upon them. Thus, they are the foundations and pillars. Otherwise, Islam entails many things. In fact, all good deeds are from Islam. The obligatory matters, the nawafil, the extra matters, and every act of obedience and abstinence
Meaning
from
voluntary acts of worship. Voluntary acts of worship are called mustahabbat, favored acts, liked acts, and so on. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. And every act of obedience and abstinence from sins. All these are contained in Islam. As such, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the Muslim is one from whose tongue and hands the Muslims are safe.
نعم.
Consequently,
this is in Bukhari and Muslim. المسلم من سلم المسلمون من لسانه ويده. نعم.
أحسن الله إليكم. Consequently, he counted holding back evil as from Islam. Islam is wide in scope, but these 5 are its mainstays, its pillars. They are its foundation upon which it is built, and when they are missing, or any one of them is missing a person, one would not have truly submitted to the real Islam. As for the rest of the deeds, when any one of them is missing, he still remains a Muslim, deficient in his Islam to the extent of what he has abandoned of it. His saying, to testify that there is no ilah worthy of worship except Allah, it means the belief and certainty and utterance with the tongue that none has the right to be worshipped except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that the worship of other than him is vanity and joining partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even when they are referred to as deities, they are false deities. The true deity is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the worship of anything other than him is falsehood. Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala said, that is because Allah, He is the truth, and what they invoke besides Him, it is falsehood. And verily, He is Al-Ali Al-Kabir.
So this ayah is important. You see, the ulama, they always bring this ayah as evidence to the meaning of La ilaha illallah. And this goes back to grammar. And we've explained this more than once, whether on recorded or unrecorded lessons. That La ilaha illallah, grammatically, Sheikh Muhammad, do you remember?
نعم شيخ النفي والإثبات.
طيب, grammatically,
نافية للجنس.
لا نافية للجنس.
للجنس.
إذن لا إله meaning what? إله is the إعراب.
لا إله. إله is مبني على الفتح.
الإعراب شيخ. اسم لا نافية للجنس.
اسم لا نافية للجنس. نعم.
And خبر
محذوف.
أحسنت. إذن الله is what?
بدل من الخبر.
بدل من الخبر. والخبر قدر
موجود.
لا يا
أو
شيخ.
مستحق للعبادة.
لا يا شيخ. حق. لا إله إلا الله meaning لا إله حق لا معبود حق إلا الله. وأيضا قدر لا معبود بحق إلا الله. However, of course these things يعني, are said in Arabic. The translation is not going to make sense, so please excuse me. However, we don't say يعني, better to say حق than بحق, because بحق is what يا شيخ محمد? بحق is شبه جملة. وهل تأتي شبه الجملة خبر؟
لا، متعلق بالخبر.
إذن لابد أن نقدر. واضح هذا يا شيخ؟ طيب.
نعم.
إذن فالأفضل عدم التقدير كما يقول العلماء. الأفضل عدم التقدير. So we say لا إله حق إلا الله. طيب. Why are we talking about Arabic grammar? Because this word حق, why is this word, meaning truly or in truth, is the one that is chosen? Why didn't we say something else? The mashayikh, they bring this ayah instantly, the ulama. They say, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْحَقُّ وَأَنَّ مَا يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِهِ هُوَ الْبَاطِلِ. So, everything that is worshipped besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is false. And the one who's truly worshipped is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Truly worthy of worship is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So where did we get this word, the true and truly? From ayah number 62 from Surah Al-Hajj. Na'am.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. Hence there must be belief with the heart, utterance with the tongue, and acting with the limbs for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone deserves worship. None deserves it except Him. It does not suffice that one believes that worship is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. One must believe that also the worship of other than Him is falsehood. This is the meaning of La ilaha illallah, for La ilaha is negation and illallah is affirmation.
Na'am, and these are the pillars of La ilaha illallah, negation and affirmation. Na'am.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. So the negation is denial and nullification of the worship of other than Allah, and the affirmation is the assertion, meaning confirmation of worship for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Consequently, the negation neither suffices without the affirmation, nor the affirmation without the negation. Both of them must occur together. As such, the one who worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and does not worship any other along with him, but does not affirm the falsehood of idol worship and false deities, and says people are free to take idol worship and false deities, people are free to take their creeds. Each individual should have his own belief, and he does not believe that is falsehood. Such is a disbeliever in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for he contradicts the testimony La ilaha illallah because it entails negation and affirmation. And he said, and that Muhammad is Allah's messenger.
Why did the Sheikh say so? Why did the Sheikh say that this is kufr, disbelief? Who knows? If someone knows, you can, if anyone knows, you can type in the chat. And if one of the brothers we have on Zoom, they want to type or they speak on the mic, they can go ahead. Like no one knows. Because we said when someone says something which is haram, he says no, it is halal. What is this? This is juhud. And we said that juhud is major kufr. Is major kufr. So if somebody comes and says it is allowed for people to worship whatever they worship, whatever they want to worship, this is not the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not allow this. So you come and say it is allowed to do so. You understand? Barakallahu feekum. Na'am.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. He said, and that Muhammad is Allah's messenger, the testimony that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah does not suffice if one does not believe in the messengership of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam.
And the Sheikh also said that if somebody does not believe in his heart that everything that is worshipped besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or anything that is worshipped besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is falsehood. If he does not believe that, this is also major kufr, major disbelief that gets one outside the fold of Islam. Na'am.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. This is because the Jews testify that there is no ilah worthy of worship except Allah, but they do not believe in the message of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. This does not make them Muslims. So whoever testifies that there is no deity worthy of worship, it does not benefit him until he believes in the message of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, obeys him in what he orders and abstains from what he prohibits, and warns against and worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to the legal code, the sharia of the messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not giving worship to Allah according to his own desires, innovations and newly invented affairs. So one must give the two statements of testimony, shahada, by either uttering them or saying that La ilaha illallah while believing that Muhammadun Rasulullah, such that is implied in it. But when he says, I testify that there is no ilah worthy of worship except Allah, but I do not testify that Muhammad is Allah's messenger, wala'iyadu billah, then it will be said, you are a disbeliever in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you have invalidated your testimony that there is no ilah worthy of worship except Allah. This is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So when you have disbelieved in the messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, you have also disbelieved in the one who has sent him, since belief in both of them is inseparable. He said to establish the prayers. He has not said and to perform the prayers, because the performance of the prayers is not the intended. Rather, what is actually intended is that it should be observed correctly, with its basic elements, obligations, and conditions, alongside making it sincere for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is absolutely required. But for the one who performs the prayers bowing and prostrating without calmness, or by performing it outside of its time without valid excuse, or abandons the prayers with the congregation, such has not established the prayers. He has either not basically established the prayer such that his prayer is null and void, or has not perfected the observance by abandoning the congregation or performing it outside of its time without valid excuse. For the prayer of the one who performs it outside the stipulated time without valid excuse is null and void, meaning not accepted, because he has not observed the prayer which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, verily the prayer is enjoined on the believers at fixed hours. Consequently, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not accept the prayers performed at other than these hours He has fixed for them. Thus, if you performed it outside the fixed hour, you would not have observed the prayer as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered you, you would have only prayed according to your desires unless you are excused for your being overtaken by irresistible sleep or forgetfulness, or that you are from those who are permitted to combine prayers and you intend to combine the Dhuhr and Asr prayers or the Maghrib and the Isha prayers. In these times there is no harm delaying the prayers, and your prayer will be correct because you are excused. As for the one who abandons the congregation without valid excuse or delays the prayer from its fixed hour without valid excuse, he would be wasting the prayer. What is intended by wasting the prayer is not to abandon the prayer, it rather means missing its fixed hour. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "So woe unto those the performers of salah who delay their salah from the stated fixed times." He called them performers of salah and yet threatened them with woes despite their praying. The reason for that is they delay their salah from the fixed times without valid excuse. Consequently, this prayer is not acceptable before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is a wasted prayer. As for the one who absolutely abandons the prayer, he is a disbeliever because he has destroyed a pillar from the pillars of Islam. He destroyed the second pillar in the two statements of testimony, and this is a mainstay of Islam as contained in the Hadith. Therefore, the place of the prayer is a great one, and the one who has Islam in his heart does not take the prayers with levity. Levity meaning, I forgot.
Yeah, it's not negligent towards his. He's not reckless and negligent and not giving it its proper, the proper attention that is needed. No.
Ahsanallahu alaykum. It is obligatory on the Muslim to continue to observe them and establish them at their stated hours. This is the beneficial prayer by which one who would have discharged his responsibility. As regard to the one who performs the prayer according to his desires, he deliberately sleeps and says, "When I wake up from sleep, I will pray." So he performs the Fajr prayer only after sunrise or shortly before the sun descends the horizon. Some even combine the day's
only
prayer
is not
and perform.
There. He said, so he prays Fajr only after sunrise. There is no only. Take that out. The Sheikh said, فَيُصَلِّي الْفَجْرَ بَعْدَ شُرُوقِ الشَّمْسِ. So he prays Fajr after sunrise. No.
Ahsanallahu alaykum. So he performs the Fajr prayer after sunrise or shortly before the sun descends the horizon. Some even combine the day's prayer and perform them all at one time and say the one who accepts them separately will accept them together. This is vanity, and the refuge is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
This is
such a person.
هذا باطل والعياذ بالله. Vanity means arrogance. That's what I know, the meaning of vanity. So this is not vanity. Sheikh Muhammad, I don't know where you got that from, what you just have written. I know the opposite of this. So I don't know, maybe I'm mistaken. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Anyway, not vanity, it's false. It's false. No. So this what he does is false. No.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. This is false, and the refuge is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Such a person is only mocking and scorning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said to give the zakat is like of the prayer. It is the obligatory right in the wealth of the rich for the poor.
Meaning that as-salah, is qarinat, az-zakat is qarinat as-salah. Meaning it always mentioned with it. It is always mentioned with the salah. Na'am.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. So would the zakat be fard as well as the salah? Even if you didn't give it, you would be a kafir, basically.
No. Abdullah ibn Shaqiq, one of the tabi'een, he has reported the consensus of the Sahaba of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the only action which the Sahaba of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw that abandoning it would be kufr is salah. So Abdullah ibn Shaqiq reported that the consensus of the Sahaba, that if you abandon salah, then you are a kafir, and if you abandon anything else other than the salah, then this is not, then you are still a Muslim.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. He said to give the zakat is like of the prayer, it is the obligatory right in the wealth of the rich for the poor. He subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and in their properties there was the right of the beggar and the poor who does not ask others. It is therefore an obligation and not something given voluntarily. It is an obligation and one of the pillars of Islam like prayer. So the one who prays but does not give the zakat has abandoned one of the pillars of Islam. If he is one who denies the obligation of zakat, he is a disbeliever. But if he acknowledges its obligation but is overcome by greed, the authority will collect it from such a person forcefully because it is a right over him as
Said
it
the
will collect
authority.
the.
فهذا يأخذها ولي الأمر منه قهرا. So the ruler takes it from him forcefully. نعم.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. The authority will collect it from such a person forcefully because it is a right over him as it will collect the money from the debtor in possession of the people's wealth when he deliberately refuses to pay up. If it is the right of the judge to take from his wealth and pay up his debts without his consent and against his wish, then to collect the zakat as such is with a greater reason, since it is from the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This was the reason why Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anh fought those who refused to give the zakat because they refused a right obligatory upon them due to others. Thus the place of zakat is a great one. He said, and to fast in Ramadan, it is the fourth pillar of Islam. Thus the one who is able to fast carrying out the order to fast, then it is obligatory upon him. But the one who has a valid excuse, he will not fast but repay the kafara based on his saying. So whoever of you cites the month, he must observe fast that month. As for the one with valid excuse, such as the sick who is unable to fast, or the one.
He said, as for the one that has a permissible excuse, then يفطر ويقضي. Then he breaks his fast and then he fasts from he fasts after Ramadan. He fasts from other days. He makes qada, not kafara.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum.
And the Sheikh didn't say that as well. The Sheikh didn't say kafara. The Sheikh said, له عذر شرعي فإنه يفطر ويقضي. So he breaks his fast and then he makes it up. He makes up for the days that he broke his fast with. Na'am.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. As for the one with valid excuse, such as the sick who is unable to fast, or the one traveling a distance appropriate for the qasr prayer, he will not observe the fast of Ramadan in the range of the need. Thereafter he will make up the fast from other days based on his saying, but if any of you is ill on a journey, the same number from other days. Thus one must observe the Ramadan fast, whether in fulfillment of the duty to fast in the month, or for those with valid excuse by making up its missed days after the month. In any case, it is not permissible to abandon the fast. As long as one is sane and capable of fasting, he must observe the fast. But if he is unable to observe the fast due to an excuse whose end is expected, he will not fast in the month, he will rather make up from other days. But if it is due to an excuse whose end is not anticipated while he remains sane and rational, then he will feed the poor for every day of the fast, based on his saying subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as for those who can fast with difficulty, they have to feed a poor person. So he feeds a poor person for each day. And he said, and to perform the pilgrimage is the fifth pillar of Islam, and it is only obligatory once upon a lifetime. Lexically, linguistically, Hajj means the intent, and juristically in the Shar' it is to visit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's house to perform worship from the tawaf.
Juristically doesn't mean in law, like in the law of the country. No, it means in Islam, or in the law of Islam. Na'am. Islamic laws. Na'am.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. The sa'i, the stopping at Arafah, sleeping overnight at Muzdalifah and Mina, the pelting of the pebbles at the pillars, considering its being difficult and that people come from far regions of the earth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made its obligation only upon the one who has sufficient financial ability from his journey to and fro, and sufficient the provision for his children and the people of his household until he returns.
This is important
For
what the Sheikh
such
is saying. So for such people it is obligatory. But if they're not able to, they don't meet these conditions, it's no longer obligatory. Now,
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. For such the Hajj is obligatory. If he is physically able, he performs the Hajj himself, but if he is unable and his inability is continuous, he uh, he allocates a representative for himself. If he dies without performing the Hajj while he was able, then it is obligatory upon his heirs, his descendants, to remove what will be sufficient to perform the Hajj from his property. This is because it is from the pillars of Islam. As for the one who is unable because he has not wealth, the Hajj is not obligatory on such. But if he is able financially but not able physically, if an end is anticipated for the difficulty in which he is in, he will wait until he is able and then perform the Hajj. But if the end is not in sight for the difficulty because he is old or chronically sick, a deputy is appointed for him.
is this understood? Barakallahu fikum. So, sometimes the excuse is what? The excuse is temporary. Yani somebody's sick, so you wait until he is better. And sometimes it is permanent. And the sickness that he has is permanent. There is no cure, or he is, they are waiting and seeing, and he doesn't get cured, and it is permanent. Then he lets somebody else do it on his behalf. And the same thing with siyam, same thing with fasting. If someone, has a fever that will go in 3 days or a week or so, then he fasts, he makes up for these days that he had to break his fasting. He fasts after Ramadan. But if someone has a certain kind of disease like diabetes or something like that, and he's not able to fast, and there is no cure, so no, he feeds as in the ayah. Now,
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. In a nutshell, this hadith supplements the hadith of Umar and clarifies it, and for that reason the author cited it after. Shall we go to hadith 4?
نعم, go on.
Hadith 4. Abu Abdul Rahman Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anh said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam narrated to us, and he is the truthful one and the trusted, that certainly the being of each of you is brought together in the womb of his mother for 40 days in the nutfa form. Then he becomes an alaqa for a similar period, and then it becomes...
No, this is not what the hadith says. Absolutely not. عن أبي عبد الرحمن عبد الله بن مسعود رضي الله عنه قال حدثنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وهو الصادق المصدوق إن أحدكم يجمع خلقه في بطن أمه 40 يوما نطفة 40 يوما نطفة. So his خلق, what was the translation?
In the womb of his mother for
Before
40
that,
days in the nutfa. Certainly the being of each of you is brought together in the womb of his mother for 40 days.
The being of you is brought together 40 days as a nutfa. ثم يكون علقة مثل ذلك ثم يكون مضغة مثل ذلك. It did not say the period of time. I just said the hadith in Arabic. The hadith in Arabic, the Messenger ﷺ did not say that. And there is a different views when it comes to the meaning of this pronoun, ذلك. What does it mean? Does it mean similarly or the same period? Two sayings of the ulama. So some of the ulama said, yeah, meaning is the same period. And some of the ulama said, no, not 120 days. That's not what is meant. What is meant is that it is like the nutfa becomes alaqa and then mudgha. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes nutfa, then also likewise alaqa and likewise mudgha. So it has nothing to do with the period. That's why you see some of the ulama, they say 120 days, and some of the ulama say no, not 120 days. When the soul is in the fetus, let's say, they say 40 something days, something like that. And keep in mind, Sheikh Sulaiman Rahili, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him and reward him, he said that in the explanation of this hadith, he said that the movement of the fetus or yani, in the womb of his mother is not an indicator of whether he's alive or not. That doesn't mean that the soul is in him or it yet. And the Sheikh sees that after 120 days, the soul is in the child. Now the soul is blown into the child. But before that, no. And as we said, if it moves, that's not an indicator. And as I said, some of the ulama said otherwise. Some of the ulama said after 40 days or after 42 days, yani I forgot how much or how many days exactly they said that. So for us to translate that it is 40 days and also similarly 40 days and similarly 40 days, what we are doing is we are taking one view and saying that the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it, yet the Messenger did not say that. This is one of the views regarding this. Keep this in mind, barakallahu fikum. Na'am.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. Then he becomes an alaqa for a similar period, then it becomes mudgha for a similar period. Thereafter the angel is sent
And
to
as
it.
we said,
He
not a
blows.
similar period. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ma yakunu alaqatan mithla dhalik." So he becomes a alaqa, and then he becomes a alaqa similarly or likewise, and likewise he becomes a mudgha. نعم. ثم يرسل إليه الملك فينفخ فيه الروح. نعم.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. Thereafter the angel is sent to it, he blows life into it and is ordered with 4 words, the writing of its wealth, lifespan, work, and whether it be a successful one or wretched. I swear by Allah besides whom there is no ilah worthy of worship, by there is no worthy of worship, one of you will act upon the deeds of the people of paradise until that between him and it is only a cubit. Then the written overtakes him, and he acts upon the deeds of the people of the fire and enters it. And one of you will act upon the deeds of the people of the fire until that between him and it is only a cubit. Then the written overtakes him, and he acts upon the deeds of the people of paradise and enters it. Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan Hafidhahullah says, Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anh said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam narrated to us, and he is the truthful one and the trusted, that certainly the being of each of you is brought together in the womb of his mother. Yajma'u, brought together, because the child forms from two kinds of...
Yajma'u brings together. Yujma'u brought together. The difference is that this is active voice and this is passive voice. Now.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. Because the child forms from 2 kinds of fluid, the fluid of the male and that of the female. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, verily we have created man from nutfa, drops of mixed semen. Amshaj, that is combined, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, proceeding from between the backbone and the ribs. That is the backbone of the male and the ribs of the female. So the child is brought to being from 2 kinds of fluid, the fluid of the man and the fluid of the woman.
نعم.
He said,
يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب. And this is also one of the explanations for this. But there are other explanations for this ayah, that it is not from the ribs and so on. So there is another explanation for this ayah, or other explanations of this ayah, that you could look at in the books of tafsir. And the translator here, he has chosen this meaning. نعم.
Ahsanallah ilaykum. He said, is brought together in the womb of his mother for 40 days. Is brought together in the womb of his mother in the nutfa.
For 40 days as a nutfa. Naam. Because this is the
Meaning
first
drop.
one. We have a question saying moments before 40 days is not indicator of soul. No, this is not what we said. We said, some of the ulama said that the soul will be in the fetus or whatever you call it, or him or her, and at that time anyway. But you understand what I mean. I'm just going to say it. So before 120 days. So before 120 days, even if it moves, doesn't have a soul yet. Some of the ulama said no. It's not 120 days. It's 40 something days, maybe 42, 43, something like that. And before that, then no soul. Naam.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. Nutfa meaning drop of semen. He said, then it becomes alaqa. The semen changes from form to blood. The alaqa over a period of 40 days, and that makes 80 days. He said, then it becomes mudgha. Then it changes form from the blood to mudgha. That is a little lump of flesh over the third 40 days. This makes 120 days. In the mudgha phase,
Sheikh Al-Fawzan sees what Sheikh Sulaiman Al-Hili also sees, that it is 120 days. Naam.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. In the mudgha phase, its limbs are brought into being and it becomes obvious that this is a fetus. He said, thereafter the angel is sent to it, meaning then within the fourth 40 days, at the dot of 4 months, i.e. 120 days, the angel in charge of fetuses is sent to it and enters into it in the womb of its mother. He said he blows the spirit into it, the spirit by which it will move, the spirit for existence. Mankind has been unable to discover the reality of this spirit. It is one of the secrets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and they ask you concerning the ruh. Say the ruh, the spirit, it is one of the things.
What you just read is in parentheses, or because I don't have it in the Arabic version. That is one of the secrets.
No, it just says that in the text.
I don't have it in there. I don't know if the Sheikh said it or not. Allah alim. No.
Ahsanallahu alaykum. He subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and they ask you concerning the ruh. Say the ruh, meaning the spirit, it is one of the things that the knowledge of which is only with my Rabb, and of knowledge you have been given only a little. So no one knows the reality of this spirit. It is something the angel comes with and blows into the fetus, and it moves and becomes alive by the leave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the time of death, the spirit goes out and the body ceases to be alive and becomes a corpse. But as long as it contains the spirit, it is alive. But when it leaves, then this is in two forms. It either leaves due to sleep, and this is minor death, or it leaves due to death, and this is the major death. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, it is He who takes your souls by night.
No, continue.
Ahsanallah. It is He who takes your souls by night and has knowledge of all that you have done by day, then He raises you up again. This is about sleep, which is the minor death. He also said, subhanahu wa ta'ala, our messengers take his soul. This is the major death. Our messengers, meaning the angels of death.
Which means
He blows the spirit in.
There is the angel of death and there are angels of death as well. No.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. He blows the spirit into it. This is among the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is in His saying, and indeed we created man out of an extract of clay. This was Adam alayhi salam. Thereafter we made him as a nutfa in a safe lodging. This is the first 40 days. Then we made the nutfa into a clot, alaqatan, that is, clot of blood. Then we made the clot into a little lump of flesh, meaning a chunk of flesh. Then we made out of that little lump of flesh bones. Then we clothed the bones with flesh. Then we brought it forth as another creation.
When it
So
comes to
blessed
this
be
ayah,
Allah.
some people, some atheists, they try to show that this is not true and that there is something wrong in the Quran. So many doctors replied to them And also you have research that has been done from other universities that are not Muslim universities. They're actually in Europe. And there are books that are written about this, where they reply to these people that what is said in the Quran is the correct order. Na'am. So don't listen to somebody that comes to you and says, you know, I found a mistake in the Quran. It says so and so, and Doctor so and so said so and so. We can provide the same thing. We can say, come, I will show you Doctor so and so saying so and so. You understand? Barakallahu feekum. So we don't compromise our religion because one doctor said this or one doctor said that. And there are books that are written about this. I have books in my library written about this by doctors. Very known doctors and professors in universities and people who are specialized in this field. They have written books about this. So, and there are people that have sickness in their hearts. They try to do what? They try to bring something that is suspicious to you, and they try their best just to show that it is wrong. You understand what I mean? We encounter these people even in day-to-day life. We know that he's wrong. Everyone in the room knows that he's wrong, but he's trying to bring something and show that he's not wrong and he's done the right thing and so on. What makes that not the case when it comes to academia and in the field of medicine or other fields? It is no exception. So there's a body of works that is new, that is produced, talking about this ayah and showing how it is just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran. And I have some students with us that were studying medicine. I don't think anyone of them is with us now. Some of them are studying and some of them were studying, and they confirmed this as well. Na'am.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. Then we made out of that little lump of flesh bones, then we clothed the bones with flesh, and then we brought it forth as another creation. So blessed be Allah, Ahsanul Khaliqeen, the best of creations.
The best of?
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the best of creators.
Ahsan.
I said creations.
Na'am.
Subhanallah, a'udhu billah.
Na'am.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also said, well, He has created you in stages. These are the stages which the fetus passes through in the womb of its mother. The nutfa stage, the alaqa stage, the mudgha stage, the stage of the flesh and bone. Subsequently, it becomes a human being. This is the bringing to being of man, and it is from the wonders of the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He subhanahu wa ta'ala said, He creates you in the wombs of your mothers, creation after creation, in 3 veils of darkness.
I have somebody sent a message. He said, yes, we have the same in our academic studies too. What do you have? You study medicine? And what do you mean by that? Are you confirming what I'm saying or no? Go ahead.
Ahsanallahu ilaykum. 3 veils of darkness, the darkness of the womb, the darkness of the uterus, and the darkness of the placenta. The fetus is within these 3 veils of darkness.
No, so we
He
have,
said,
I think, someone who's studying medicine as well, and a future doctor, inshallah, and he's saying that they are studying this, and it is the same as mentioned in the Quran. Now, because sometimes this is what we see, and this is a problem, ya ikhwa. We see people debating doctors and debating physicists and so on and so forth. And many of these Muslim debaters, they're not specialists. And this is not the way, by the way. Just so you know, this is not the way of the people of Sunnah and Jama'ah. Or this is not the way that is recommended by the people of Sunnah and Jama'ah. And there's a difference between the two things that I said. So, you see some of the big ai saying not to indulge in debates and public debates and so on and so forth. So debates are closed and there is a ruling depending on it and so on and so on. You can read this in the books that speak about this. Anyway, and you see the big ulama as well, the scholars, they don't indulge in these debates like Sheikh bin Baz and Sheikh bin Uthaymeen and Salih Fawzan. And we have never seen on TV Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan going and debating and so on and so forth. Yet he is the Imam of the people of Sunnah at his time, at our time now. Tayyib. So these people, they've studied philosophy, or they have studied a little bit of this and that, and they want to debate, get famous because of debates, and people like watching debates. You tell somebody, how about we study the 40 Nawawi Hadith? That's hard. You tell him, how about we memorize it? Oh, that's even harder. So how about Umdat al-Ahkam? Oh, يعني Allah al-Musta'an. But if you tell him, watch a debate, he gets the popcorn and starts watching the debate, right? Entertainment. So this is not, the deen is not entertainment, ya ikhwa. It is not entertainment. And most of these people that debate, they have no knowledge, no ilm. And also they jeopardize the people that are watching, and this is gravely dangerous. If they are faced with someone who is, for example, a specialist in this field, and he comes and says, what? He says, what you're saying is wrong. The Quran is wrong. I am a specialist. I am an authority. So the poor guy who is trying, yani, with a good intention, hopefully good intention, he's trying to show that Islam is, and then he is not a specialist, the Muslim. What does he do? He has to say, okay, and he moves on. And this is very dangerous. And if we take what some of these specialists said and we actually go through it and we look academically, we see that the person who's a specialist and said that this is not true, we see that there is a body of works that say otherwise. They say it is true. Just like when we see somebody coming and saying evolution is a fact, when you go and study it, you find that evolution is what? Is a joke. It's not a fact. It's something you laugh at. That's what it is. Actually, some of the like David Berlinski, for example, he said it's like smoke. You cannot even touch it. And this is a prominent scientist in many fields. You understand? Barakallahu feekum. So what I'm saying is, you bring somebody who is an atheist doctor, or who's a Christian doctor, he just wants to prove that Islam is wrong. So the same thing, and somebody can say the same thing. You bring a Muslim doctor, he's just trying to prove that Islam is right. طيب, how about you research it? When you research it, you find even non-Muslims saying that this is true. And their goal is not to prove that Islam is right. But you see that academically and in the field itself, whether it is geology, whether it is anatomy, whether it is physics, so on, whatever you are looking at, literature, linguistics, whatever you are looking at, you cannot identify and you cannot say this is for sure just because one person said it. So you have to go back and you research it and you look, is this actually true? So if somebody comes and says, well, this is wrong in the Quran, they say so and so, and when we look at embryology, it does not say so. The experts in embryology that do not say so. For example, we say no. There are books that are written about this. I have books in my library, professors and doctors, and there are people who entered Islam because of this, and they are what? Embryologists. He's an embryologist, and when he read that the Quran said so and so, he entered Islam. Not just one person, more than a person. So when the Muslim is debating, and because, you know, when a debate he gets 1 million views and followers, and this is not what should be in our hearts. And ya ikhwa, I cannot emphasize this enough. Some of you might say, AbdulAziz, you have said this so much. Maybe you are tired of maybe they would say they are tired of listening to this. But it is so important. Go back to the ulama. You want to debate, you want to go so go back to the ulama. Don't become the alim yourself. How many speakers do we have that is famous, very known, who is utterly ignorant or is upon bid'ah, upon misguidance, not an authority whatsoever? Some, they say, for example, he has millions of followers and so on, says the Quran that we have is not the Quran. The Quran is in Al-Lawh al-Mahfuz. What is this? This is the aqidah of what? The Jahmiyyah and the Mu'tazila? He's a poor, a poor guy. Doesn't speak Arabic. He's fed these lies. He thinks he's upon the truth and so on and so forth. And this is a bid'ah. You understand? Barakallahu feekum. نعم. طيب. So he's upon bid'ah and so on and so forth. Anyway, it's time for the salah, so we have to cut the lesson short. Barakallahu feekum. I apologize. Where did we stop, akhi?
Ahsanallah alayk. He said, and is ordered with 4 words. Then after the blowing of the spirit into it, the angel is ordered with 4 words.
نعم. So قال يؤمر بأربع. طيب. We will stop here إن شاء الله عز وجل. It's time for prayer. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. There will be no questions.